Broadly speaking, it's very AI driven this year. You'll hear that theme across quite a few of the stories we're talking about. And we start with Google's announcements. Obviously, they had the big draw. There was the Buds and the Watch and all that, but we're not going to focus on that. It'll be the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro phones. Look a lot similar to the ones that were previously out, like the 7 and the 6. I do like the blue color. I must admit, but the thing that was quite interesting was that, to be honest, like outside of iPhone, the Pixel is the only one that I look at as being somewhat interesting on the Android side. But I guess user testing will have to bear this out. But the Pixels have always had an issue with something doesn't quite work right after a year. Something goes wrong software wise, or something, there's hiccups or whatever. Maybe they've fixed it this year. Who knows? I mean, hopefully they have, but that would be something that kind of like deters me from the thought of even contemplating having it as another device to play around with. But I mean, at the same time, what I thought was interesting was that they put their world class cameras in there. They've got the industrial design, and they've got clean Android, which that's the other reason why I find the Pixel more interesting. But there was such a heavy focus on AI. They went even further than what they have in the past with, obviously last year, I can't remember what year it was, where they introduced the magic eraser tool for photos. Yeah. And now they've got all this other stuff that they're throwing in there. And obviously the weirdest one for me was that one where it takes a whole bunch of burst shots, and then when it settles on the final shot, it rearranges people's heads so that you get the optimal sort of spread of people smiling and not blinking and whatnot. And I was like, do we really need to have something like that in a photo? I don't know.
Sounds like a tool for fake news.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, it's starting to go away from the idea of that spontaneity. Like, in other words, you can't make a mistake, which may be useful in certain scenarios. But I thought the spontaneity of taking a photo is part of the charm of the photo in the end.
Well, but this is it. You're suggesting mistakes and spontaneity, they're the same thing, and that's what makes a great photo. Look, I think magic eraser is a fantastic feature, but once you start erasing things that were there, that's fake. Uh, do we have an issue with that? Probably not, but mixing heads to get the best shot or faces to get the best shot, erasing things that were there. you know, and all the time we're worried about fake news and disinformation. Well,
but maybe that's just part of the culture now that we present what we want to present regardless of however it turned out.
Exactly. It started with filters, and look where we are now. And AI is only going to make that even more accessible. But I'm hardly complaining about these things. I'm just pointing out that if we're worried about an artificial world, we're certainly creating an artificial alternate reality.
Mm. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Bard in there. That that's part of the features that are in there. Okay, well, I mean, they're trying to really push hard, and we might also cross over into the Surface event from Microsoft as well, when we talk about this component of it, because obviously Google's got Bard, and obviously that's got some teething issues based on some of the testing that's gone on with it so far. Microsoft had what they called was a Surface event, so that would imply new hardware, and that's what they were going to focus on. But actually, 90% of the event was all about their new Copilot feature that they're going to roll out to all Windows devices. And I actually did see a new icon appear because I'm running Windows 11 virtual on my MacBook here, and I did see a new icon pop up in the taskbar for Copilot, and they were going through all this stuff about how it's going to so much dramatically improve your life with whatever. But I'm starting to wonder whether we're getting to a point where we're outsourcing too much of our thinking.
Well, look, this is a really good point you raise. And just to step back to the Pixel, I mean, as a phone, I've known people who've had them who've thought they were reasonably good in terms of features and usage, but they don't have great longevity. And Google devices, software and hardware, come with so many bugs. Everyone thinks that they're just features. I mean, no one carries on about a Pixel phone in the same way they do when an Apple runs hot. So it's an interesting thing, and I, as we've said, when we look, say at the iPhone 15, or if we look at the Pixel 8, I mean, the reality is we're seeing incremental steps. And it's funny that you say this. You look at Bard or Microsoft incorporating AI into their platforms, and what you're starting to see, I think, are the big steps. And this started during COVID with Zoom, and I think Teams suddenly became part of the Microsoft platform, and today it's indispensable, even though it's still only borderline in terms of performance. But AI will be the next addition to the Windows stable, and that obviously impacts on what the Surface can do. And suddenly you'll start seeing features, available on a laptop that are really powerful, and extend the capabilities of the laptops beyond what you can do on a small phone-based device. So I think these are the really interesting thing, and I'm pretty certain that over the next couple of years you'll see the attention turned away from phones, because as we've seen, there's not going to be a new phone that's so stunning and so different that we're all going to go, wow. And I think the power will shift back to the operating systems, where AI features will allow you to design, write, and build things, in in things that we could only have imagined of years ago.
Hmm. But just a quick one too, but on the iPhone is that if anyone was wondering, Apple is also using AI. They're just never referring to it because it's machine learning. If you hear words like machine learning and neural engines and neural networks or whatever that's powered in the iPhone, that's what that is. And it's just that Microsoft and Google are explicitly referring to them almost as like assistants, in the sense of your friendly person. You just ask it and it'll have an answer for you.
Do you think it's that? I mean, Apple's always been seen at the forefront of whatever we're doing, so they don't need to spruik that they've got AI. They just need to say we've got fantastic engines. Whereas, like if you want me to get, excited about Windows 12, you have to tell me it comes with a full AI on suite. And the same with any of your other devices. For anything that sort of, I guess, comes from the traditional PC world, if it doesn't have AI, you're just thinking, well, it's just another beige box.
And just finally, on while we're on this, I wanted to throw also in that Samsung had another event, but it was a bit different. It was focused on almost all of their technology, and we're talking about phones and laptops and such, but it's going to creep into appliances as well. And you can kind of see this in a little way where you start seeing screens on fridges, and I don't know, maybe your toaster can talk to you about how perfectly to toast your bread or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like there's a bit of that going on across the board, which would seem to imply the smart home strategy that I think they're all been trying to kick around with for years, but they're not there yet as far as making it work. And the idea that it's kind of like how you would see in science fiction films where you'd walk into your house and you can just talk to it and it just responds to you.
Well, that's right, but they haven't cottoned on to some really simple things like the toast. Basically, if they just had a like button on the toaster, and every time your toast came up the way you liked it, you clicked like, the machine would learn very quickly. It doesn't need, billions of examples from around the world. It just needs a few hundred samples from your house, because that's where the toast is being made. And it's funny, all of these things. I think AI is in all of them. You're absolutely right. Whether it's the efficiency of your heating and cooling within the house, whether it's smart meters, whether it's smart lighting, whether it's your ability to control, effectively the supply chain that enters in and out of your house in so many different ways. And yeah, do we need it? Well, I don't know, but I guess it's one less thing to think about if you're human, and that gives you more time for social media.
I guess one way to kind of frame it, just to close it out, is when the real smartphone arrived, like we'll say the iPhone, and then obviously all of the other models that came out from other manufacturers afterwards. When that entered our lives, there was an obvious change that added to what we were doing. All of this stuff seems to be scrambling around to find a place like that, but I'm not seeing how it is going to actually deliver that kind of a big bang change, um, unless they come out with something soon that solves the problem.
Yeah, look, I agree, and I just think because typically for machine learning and AIs, you need huge data sets. They haven't optimized anything for small data sets, and yet the reality is that your home is your home. You don't need to know what like a billion other people do to optimize your house. You only need to know what the 4.3 people that live in your house do to optimize it. And so there's a lot of connectivity in this day and age, and a lot of machine learning around data, and that broader data obviously is valuable to the market, but I don't know how relevant it is to you as an individual family, which is interesting. Look, I think really for me, the biggest advances we'll get from AI will be in screens and viewing. You and I have been talking about OLEDs versus QLEDs versus mini LEDs, and it's the AI in the background on whatever screen you're viewing, whether it's a phone, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a wall-mounted sort of large screen. They're the advances that are giving us better and better quality pictures and images. And I think that ultimately that's where you'll see AI really take on, because that's an extension then of wearing goggles. It's an extension of immersing yourself in 3D and AR.